Hey everyone, welcome to Bell Helmets. We are live streaming from the Bell Plus Giro Dome here in Scotts Valley, California, United States, planet Earth. We're doing this as part of the Sea Otter Play Festival. It's the digital version of the Sea Otter Festival that we all know and love. A few months after it would have been live this year, things are kind of strange. We're here set up in this wonderful test lab that we have here. We are socially distanced so that you could actually see our faces instead of having to wear masks. So we've got I've got a couple of colleagues with me, and we're here to answer your questions about spherical technology. My name's Azure Serafini. I'm the art director here for Bell Helmets. I've got my two colleagues here. I've got Simon Fisher, category manager for Bell Bike and Power Sports, and I've got Scott Weitzel, our senior mechanical engineer. They are prepared to answer all of your questions and my questions about spherical technology. So I will hand it off to Simon to talk a little bit about himself, and Scott can tell us a little bit about his background.
All right, thanks, Azure. Yeah, it's a unique trade show of sorts. Usually we're all out at Sea Otter, which is right here in our backyard in Monterey. We're located up in the Santa Cruz County area. And again, my name is Simon Fisher. I'm the category manager for Bell Helmets across all of our helmets, including our power sports helmets. We make a lot of motorcycle helmets as well. Really happy to be here, although I wish we were all out in Monterey at the world famous Sea Otter. But we're making do in this crazy time that we have. I've been working in the bike industry. Well, actually my first job was in 1992, building helmets for the Giro brand back when it was here located in Santa Cruz. And have been working in the industry ever since. Recently I took over as the category manager for Bell and couldn't be more excited, not only with the amazing brand that we have, but also just the really great people and products that you get to enjoy. I'm going to be here as the category manager, talking a little bit about the why we do things or what the benefits are for you. And then I have Scott with me, who I'll let him introduce himself, who's now distance about 20 feet away from me, and he'll be able to answer all your questions that are more technically based. And again, I'll hand it over to Scott to introduce himself.
Hi guys, my name's Scott Weitzel. I'm a senior mechanical engineer here at Bell. I've been with the company about 6 years now. Started out in renewable energy, then in aerospace, and kind of felt the need to, I rode bikes, I participated in all these outdoor events, and I felt the need to do something to give back to all that and to maybe contribute to that part of my life. So do something more important than building spaceships. So been here, started out in power sports, did that for basically the first 3 years, and then in the last couple of years I've been moving more towards the bike side of things. So like Simon said, bummed to not be hanging out with everybody at Sea Otter, but we've got to make the best of what we got, and yeah, it's great to be here, and we're happy to answer any questions you've got.
Yeah, awesome. And just chime in on that. Sure, spaceships. They're pretty cool right now. But again, we're thrilled to be here. We want to open this up for all of your questions. Azure's waiting, standing by at the nerve center here. And again, we're here to answer all your questions around Spherical and as well as Bell. So Azure, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, great. I think the first question we've got is really, Simon, what is spherical technology? Give us just a little overview.
What is spherical technology? So spherical technology is actually, if you read the tagline behind it, spherical technology powered by Mips. So this is, if you're familiar with Mips, which is a multi-directional impact protection system. And many of you are probably familiar with Mips. And Mips comes in many different forms inside of the helmets. I think they have over 100 different brands that they work with globally. And again, what we have brought to market with spherical technology with our sister company, Giro, is a very unique Mips system that you will find in some of our premier helmets. Specifically for us, the Mips system is found in our Super Air and Super Air R, so with the chin bar, as well as our Super DH. And what is spherical in a nutshell? And again, I'll let Scott maybe elaborate on really the mechanics of it. But in a nutshell, it's a ball and socket So it's a ball and socket design that allows the Mips liner to move that 10 to 15 millimeters on the inside to help reduce rotational energies or impacts as you hit. And I'll let Scott go into the details on it, but it is effectively that ball and socket technology that we're able to put into our helmets, and then of course we'll go through a lot of the benefits as we go through the online Q&A today. But effectively, what Mips really is, or what Spherical is a style, a design of using Mips technology, which is the slip plane and a ball and socket overall design. I'll let Scott maybe elaborate a little bit. He's got some props here for you as well.
Yeah, here's one I prepared earlier. So we're all familiar with in the industry what we call a linear impact, and that's you fall down against something and you hit perpendicularly to the shell of the helmet. You crack your head on a tree branch, whatever that is, and we call that a linear impact because the energy is basically going linearly through the helmet, towards your head. And the purpose of the helmet for the longest time was we built everything to protect against those. That was our main goal. It's still obviously something that is focused on very heavily because that is a lot of times that's the type of accident that you're going to have. But basically what Spherical does is, in the last few years, people have started to realize, and Mips has explained this in detail on their website, but you get these sort of off-angle impacts, and what that can cause is basically if you catch a tree branch or you catch your head on something, it'll pull the helmet back, and a lot of the older designs, this wasn't really accounted for, and so basically what we've done, partnered with Mips, as Simon said, is we've developed this Spherical technology, and as you can see, I've got this interior liner and this outer one. So as we catch this, you can see that the outer liner is able to move and slip, and I guess you can kind of see in that direction as well, in all different directions around your head, and that gives just a little bit more for that oblique impact that like I said, wasn't really being taken into consideration until the last few years. So. There's also some other benefits to building a helmet with Spherical, but I think I'll let Simon kind of cue those up.
Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately, these are your questions, and we have a few of them that have already come in, and so we'll answer those. But as they come in, you have the chat feature there. You can ask these questions, and again, we're here for you. This is just like a trade show where we would be in the booth. You can swing by. Unfortunately, we don't have the pancakes or some of the adult beverages that sometimes would be present at these trade shows, but we're here for you to answer those questions. And as Scott pointed out, I mean, the oblique impacts, and that's for us in marketing, is effectively that when you crash, it's not always a very linear hit, right? Most of us know from mountain biking experience that when you crash, usually everything goes every direction, and so that's really where Spherical finds such strength, especially building on the Mips platform. Is that it really is adapting the helmet for a variety of different crashes that might happen. And ultimately, that's what makes Spherical different from the rest of the Mips options out there, is it is really truly a ball and socket as opposed to maybe a liner on the inside, which we also use across the belt line. And so I'll hand it over to Azure if there's any questions that have come in, and then again, we can, of course, Scott and I can talk all day on this, but let's see if there's some questions that have come in.
Thanks. Yeah, we've got a question from Zach. How does Spherical technology differ from traditional Mips technology?
So I'll start it, and then I'll hand it off to Scott for the engineering deep dive. But effectively, if you compare Spherical to Mips, they are identical in terms of what they're offering from a standard of rotational. And that's because we use that, we partnered with Mips and created that slip plane inside the helmet that is similar to the yellow liner you might see on the inside, or in a lot of cases, we actually integrate the Mips system into our fit system. So the fit system that you find on the back of most premium helmets, which allows you to adjust, the fit for the helmet, we actually incorporated into that. So there's different levels and different styles of Mips systems that we use. And from a standpoint of, we like to say active on impact, right? When you're riding, the Mips and the helmet itself are just kind of hopefully in the background. They're not doing anything. except making you look really good on the trail. But really, active on impact is when you hit or something goes wrong, we want that system to then take action. And the Mips system on the inside, regardless of which one you're using, is almost identical with each other. But we will talk about it in a moment, is some of the benefits, and this is really where we want to make sure people understand of why Spherical, why should you spend that kind of premium amount on a helmet for Spherical. And I'll let Scott, maybe if you want to elaborate a little bit on kind of the difference between maybe a standard Mips system and the Spherical system in a helmet.
Yeah, so, basically the big differentiation between the two is that in a Mips, like Simon said, you're going to get a helmet that's got, it's basically your standard bicycle helmet, but it's got a layer of slip material on the inside of it. What we do with Spherical is that there's actually two liners, and you can see kind of this gap, not gap, but basically that there's another piece inserted inside. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to put that low friction material further away from your head, which lets us put foam that you're accustomed to having near your head for comfort purposes, basically. And as well as it gives us the opportunity to design that surface more for its purpose rather than having to be exactly like the head forms that we use. And one of the things that's really cool about Spherical, we've got, for the longest time we've used EPS. It's kind of your ubiquitous helmet material. It's been used for everything basically since they invented it, and that's expanded polystyrene. It's really good at absorbing impacts. It's fantastic, it's stable, and we know all the research behind it on how to tune it and get it to where it needs to be for impacts. The one thing that's kind of a bummer about it is that, and this is why we recommend if you've had a helmet crash, that you need to replace it, because, lean in here a little bit, this is a chunk of EPS, and you can see as you hit that and deform it, it doesn't really spring back. And that's a known quantity. It's part of building bike helmets, but it lets Spherical, having those two liners, lets us use another material called EPP, which is expanded polypropylene. And what that does is you can see, even though I'm crushing this the same amount that I was crushing that EPS, it springs back largely to its original form. And what that allows is the helmet will be a little bit more adaptive to your head shape. Everybody's got a different head shape. I worked in the custom fit program at Bell for years and years and years, and everyone's got a unique head form. Everybody's head's slightly shaped differently. We have spent tons of time developing it to be as close to the standard, if you will, but EPP is an awesome material because it has a bit of that give, and it adds that comfort while still retaining that Mips slip plane ball and socket that we're talking about here. So it's kind of we developed using EPP on the power sports side in Flex, which we've used that technology for, I don't know, probably like 7 or 8 years now. And this is sort of our approach to how to use those cool materials that we discovered in Flex in a bike helmet with Mips and synthesize kind of all the research that we've done. So that's kind of the long explanation of what we gain from it, but it's pretty cool stuff, and it works on a material and a comfort level. So
yeah, and that's that's a classic change up between where engineering is really trying to manage the impact, manage what we a lot of times internally call the energy, which is just the amount of force that when you hit that gets through the helmet to your head. Because unlike a lot of our body parts when we crash, you put your arm in a sling, you put your foot in a cast or something like that. Our brains are far more dynamic, would be the right word for it, in that they don't just you can't put a cast on your brain and you can't simply put some ice on it. And concussion research is continuing to evolve, but as Scott pointed out there, some of the benefits that Spherical is also offering is these dual densities or different materials that we use, which both offer a level of comfort that we've never been able to achieve before, as well as impact protection as it goes through those different layers, hopefully preventing anything from happening. And Bell and Giro, this is really an innovation that came through here, and have over 70 years of combined research, technologies, and products within helmets and helmet safety. And so this is something where, again, this is the most advanced system we've done, and as Scott pointed out, has many, many layers to it in terms of its benefits.
Thanks, guys. We do have a question here. So a lot of people already know that the model year 21 Bell helmets just launched, depending on where you are in the world, what is available right now in inventory. But Pedro's question is, the Super Air 2020 already had spherical system. Is there any difference between the 2020 model of the Super Air and the 2021?
I can answer that, no. There's no difference between the two. One thing that from a technology and from a design standpoint, we've not changed. So what the Super DH and what the Super Air and Super Air R launched with, those are all what we collectively call spherical technology. And the reason we wanted to level set that is not only do we use this across multiple helmets, and we'll continue to innovate around it in the future, we designed this in conjunction with Giro. And what we really wanted to be able to highlight for customers out there is, if you really are looking for this level of protection, if you're looking for this level of innovation within a helmet, we wanted to make it simpler to find those helmets within our line. So Spherical is a brand update, but not a change to the design between 20 and 21.
So does Spherical make the helmet heavier?
So, yeah, and I think Scott can talk a little bit about densities and of the foams and the materials, but ultimately it makes the helmet lighter. So we had a previous Super 3R, which is still in the line and is still a great helmet. And the Super Air, which was really designed around that next innovation, is lighter weight. I think it's 144 grams lighter, if I remember my numbers right. And so we were able to lower that. And some of that, yes, is in the Spherical, in terms of the way we're able to basically cut some of the layers out on the exterior. So thinking about those liners that you have, the liners now integrated into the helmet. And some of it is also just the features and the other things that we do in the helmet. And so maybe, Scott, you can talk a little bit about, you talked about density, but how does density affect weight in the helmet?
Yeah, so when you're building a helmet, weight is always, we're all pedaling up hills. You don't want something big on your head that's super heavy. It's always one of our primary concerns, after the impact side of it. And it is actually something that I want to talk about a little bit more about EPP. The relative densities of the EPP and the EPS that we use, overall, typically the EPP tends to be a lower density than the EPS. And so what that means is that, if you can imagine the EPS inside that is now EPP, basically the ball and socket, traditionally that material would have been EPS. And by replacing that with EPP, not only do you get the comfort that we've talked about, but pound for pound in that little area, it is going to be lighter, just by virtue of having multiple density of materials. The other thing that's really cool about having the inner liner and messing with these densities and stuff, it gives you another knob to tune the machine, basically, for the impacts. You have your outer density, and now you have an inner density that you can mess with in order to optimize kind of how the helmet's built, how it reacts to impacts, and all this stuff. So doing the multiple layers is super rad, not only from a consumer side of it, but it's also rad for impact and for us designing the thing. And the other thing that's great about it is now you have two pieces that you can design parts around, basically, to increase and help with airflow. So you're not limited to just a single piece that you're trying to optimize for all of these things. You now have multiple dials and multiple things that you can tune to get that fixed.
Cool. Does Spherical make the helmet hotter?
Once again, it all depends in terms of the way you construct it, but one of the big advantages we found with Spherical, and Spherical has been around, it's been in our line for, I guess 3-4 years now. And again, we mentioned Flex, which comes from our off-road side of our business, the motorcycle side of our business, which has been 5 or 6 years in the marketplace. What it offers us from a standpoint of cooling or ventilation are some big advantages over some of the other systems we have. And the main difference you'd find between, say, a standard Mips system, now I'm talking about the yellow plastic liner that probably many of you are familiar with, that slip plane that goes inside the helmet, and a spherical, is that spherical does not obstruct any of the vents. And so the engineers, we have a wind tunnel that we work with, we have the Therminator, which you've probably seen before if you've watched any of the different videos that the Dome has produced, or Bell or Giro. We really optimize helmets, again, to help with the cooling effect, and that's both how much air can pass in, how much air can exit out the back, because we acknowledge that, again, a helmet can be warmer than wearing a hat, or definitely wearing nothing at all. But we can optimize those vents, and when you don't plug them up at all, because the spherical is able to align directly on the vent itself, it actually allows more air through the helmet, ultimately making it cooler. So we find that actually spherical, and again, it depends on how you construct it, but we have used it to optimize the cooling effect of our helmets.
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit more just with a prop here. You can pick up any helmet on the shelf and look at it, and you can see all the way through with all the vents and everything, and like Simon says, sometimes that inner Mips layer, just by virtue of how it's built, can block some of that air. But if you pick up one of these helmets, you can see straight through just like normal with your average helmet. So, having ridden both extensively, I haven't noticed any difference personally in terms of airflow. In fact, sometimes it feels better. It's all about how we construct it. And like I said, having multiple layers and basically multiple parts, you can start doing cooler stuff inside of the helmet to channel that air and direct it to where you actually need it. It's one of the fringe benefits of how we built these, is that, normally you have a single vent that goes all the way through from the outside of the helmet to the inside. Now you've got an outside layer that feeds through into here, and now there's an inside layer that, if you wanted to, you can do additional channeling to direct that air to the parts of the helmet that maybe sometimes in other designs don't get sufficient venting, and you can feed those vents directly into your pads because you've got so much more material basically to work with.
I know that I've gotten a question before working just with our Bell Joyride program. If, like, for beginner riders, should do you recommend a beginner rider buying a spherical helmet?
Well, it goes back to why wear a helmet at all, right? A helmet is there in case you need it. And while all helmets are tested to the same standards that are out there, including a Mips helmet, right? Mips has its own internal testing, for that slip plane that's in there. We always recommend buying the most advanced technology that we have in the line, and this is because of the benefits that are offered. Spherical is our most advanced Mips system that we offer in the line. It gives great benefits around ventilation, it gives great benefits around the weight reduction, and ultimately the comfort of the helmet. And so if you're a beginner, I would say yes, of course, I would recommend buying a spherical helmet. That said, right, a lot of beginners may be a little bit more price sensitive, and so that's why we offer Mips all the way down through the line. So even our opening, we call opening price point helmet, the Nomad that we have in the line, is a Nomad Mips. So it has the slip plane liner on the inside there. So if money is no option, of course, for a beginner, I would say, buy the most advanced technology. Why not take 70 collective years of engineering and development and put that on your head? Because every helmet company out there will tell you, again, protecting your head is going to be one of the best things you can do on any bike ride. So yes, I would always recommend it, but again, we still offer a lot of different helmets for the different price points and needs of the customer.
So you kind of touched on this just now, but I know a big question people usually ask is, what's safer? Spherical, Mips? Is that safer than even just getting a helmet without the rotational impact?
Ooh, we knew this one was coming. What's safer? Again, this is for every helmet company, kind of a preloaded question, but it's a very fair question for anybody. I want the safest, right? Whether you're buying it for yourself, or you're buying it for your significant other, you're buying it for your kids, for a relative, whatever it is, right? You want to put on the safest piece of equipment that you can. internally, we often talk about this. Everything is held to a standard, right? And so globally, there are different helmet standards that are out there, and we meet and exceed those. There are also standards of companies, external, third party, like Virginia Tech, who also go through their own protocols in terms of testing, quote, what makes a safer helmet. For me, I always go to a story I heard from a gentleman I knew from Denmark, and he says, a helmet doesn't make you safe, right? Riding a bike inherently has some safety risk to it, especially if it's a mountain bike and you're going very fast. What a helmet is there to do, as we talk about active on impact, the helmet is there to help, prevent a head injury. And again, can we say it makes you safer? Not necessarily. We can't say that. But we do know that the data shows, and that any report you read, that wearing any helmet is going to make you less likely to have a head injury than not wearing a helmet at all. So does it make you safer? We can't say that, but we can definitely say that all the data points to wear a helmet. And we would say that 70 years says wear a spherical helmet. Oh, and Scott's going to elaborate on it.
Yeah, the spherical versus Mips argument, and that's kind of why I was saying it's a synthesis earlier. And the thing about spherical is you get the benefits of a Mips system with a little bit more of what we've thrown in there for the channeling and the venting and everything. You're going to, Mips certifies all these helmets. Any helmet you see with that little Mips dot, they've certified all of these to pass their internal rotational testing. So, the argument is one better than the other. It's not really the right argument. It's you're getting that certification and that technology in a helmet with either system. So, it's kind of better to look at it in that kind of light.
Look at it in the light of you should wear a helmet. That's the light we want to look at.
For sure. So you touched on a couple of the Bell models that have spherical. So which models exactly in the Bell line have spherical technology currently?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of them here. Even got some props of older product, but I'll start with the most recent one. And in fact, we've got one of the we got this right here, but this is a pretty cool one. So this is the Fast House edition of the Super Air R. And so in the marketplace, you'll see Super Air and Super Air R. And the difference between those two is one is sold just as a traditional trail helmet without the chin bar, and then the R, of course, is with the chin bar. So, and as most of you know, Bell has been the pioneer of removable chin bars in the marketplace. And so whether you're getting the Super Air or you're getting it with the chin bar attached, again, that's the Super Air in a nutshell. So this is the most recent helmet we've launched with the spherical, and you can see that, again, as Scott has pointed out, with the multi-densities there, and the slip plane on the inside, and an exceptional comfort liner that we have there too. And we also have in the market, which has been exceptionally popular recently, we've had this for a couple of years, but the Super DH. And so the Super DH is actually a downhill certified. So downhill certification really is around if you're going to race and you need a helmet with downhill certification, or you're going to something like a park where they require a downhill helmet. So it meets all of the downhill requirements for certification. And these helmets have been exceptionally popular. As people recreate, they get out, they go to parks, and I say parks meaning something like Whistler, which is the most popular one that most people know about, but they're popping up all over, and when you're getting, whether you're doing a ride up on the lift or you're doing shuttle rides with your friends, this has been an exceptionally popular helmet as well. And if you have to ride back up the hill, you can always uninstall the chin bar and then get the extra ventilation. But the Super DH, whether it's an e-bike or you're going to those parks, again, has been a really popular helmet. So right now, those are the two helmets in our line, the Super DH and the Super Air and Super Air R. So
Cool. So will spherical be added to any other Bell helmets in the future?
Well, I remember I'm the marketing guy, so yeah. Lots of. No, I mean, spherical, there's a reason that we only have it in a limited number. You can easily see by looking at the price tags of all of these that they are Absolutely. We do see this as the premier technology within the line. And again, our sister company, Giro, who also has been working with spherical technology, has just launched a couple new products even this year. So you'll see more of these in the future for sure. And you'll see it beyond mountain biking as well. Spherical is equally adaptable and beneficial, whether it's road, gravel, or any category of riding that you're doing.
Cool. Well, that's all the questions that we have today. So I'm just going to hand it back to Simon and Scott just to, if you have anything additional to add, maybe something that didn't get asked that you'd like people to know about. So we'll start with Simon.
Yeah, I'll just do one last one because I have the prop here. And nobody asked, what's the history? A little bit of background on what is it, but I think this is super cool. And again, this is Giro, this is not Bell, but the Advanced helmet, which is a ski racing helmet. And this is kind of one of the kernels that it became what is Spherical today. And again, this helmet was designed for Olympic class, giant slalom racers. Again, kind of a far away cry from kind of a lot of the riding that all of us do. But that's really where that innovation started. And it's something that we've been really proud of and built on through the ages. So Spherical's been within our portfolio for a while. Again, starting in ski, but really expanding into bike. And Bell was the first with the Super DH to come to market with Spherical for the trail rider. And again, you'll see more in the future. So super happy to have you. Again, we don't know how many people are out there right now because it is a virtual world. Instead of talking to you in person, I'm talking to a small camera. But we appreciate your time if you hung with us and look forward to seeing you in the future. Take care.
Yeah, no, just to chime in on Simon's history comments, it's really cool to see how we've taken technology from the power sports side and from our partners with Mips and to kind of get all of this history to pack it into these new products that, I personally ride a Super Air and I love it. It's a fantastic helmet. I ride it just about every day. And to just have that sort of lineage all the way down through the years and across our entire product portfolio, it's really cool. And every time I strap the thing on and go and ride, it's fantastic to know that I'm riding with the best that I've ever worked on. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. It's, like Simon said, super bizarre, but hey, this is the world we live in right now, and we're hoping that you're all staying safe and having a good time out there, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Simon. It's really awesome to be doing our first live stream here. We're starting small through Sea Otter, but it's kind of cool. We come up with some innovative ideas, when we can't get together in person. So I'd love for you guys to check out Sea Otter Play. It's free to register. It's going on today through Sunday, especially for people internationally even that haven't been able to travel out here to California and check it out. So check it out. We've also got a couple videos on our YouTube channel about Super Air and Super Air R Spherical. Check those out, and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Bell Bike Helmets. So thank you, guys. End stream.